everything you need to fight the Trump administration. This is The Bill Press Show, live at youtube.com/The Bill Press Show.
And good morning, it's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press, who's like on a park bench somewhere. We don't know where, but that's perfectly okay. If I'm Bill, I'd be on a park bench on a Friday too. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Jimmy.
How are you?
I'm doing much better now that you're here.
Well, that's a lie.
Such a good morning when I get to spend it with you, Jimmy.
That's definitely a lie. Oh, my God, that's ridiculous.
A healthy dose of Jimmy Williams.
A healthy dose?
Yeah.
There's no such thing. That's an oxymoron.
Someone tweeted at me last time after you were here and asked if we were related, so I would just like to tell everybody I'm so happy that I can do the show with my real dad, Jimmy Williams.
That was Mean Girls. Ray, hashtag Mean Girls. That was not nice.
I wasn't being mean.
My dad?
Well, my real dad.
Do you mean real daddy?
Really?
Jamie,
Seriously?
You're of an age to be old. My dad.
I'm 50.
Yeah, you can
I
be my dad.
I turned 50 a week ago.
I believe that, but you wouldn't. No, he couldn't be your dad.
You know what I am.
Of course he could.
You know I'm a DILF, right? And I'll just leave it at that.
A DILF.
Yes. With us this morning also, Jamie, we've got Ray, and of course we have Monty running the video. Thank you, Monty, for making me look so pretty on a beautiful Friday morning. We've got a lot of great news to get to. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. You can find us streaming on video our streaming video at youtube.com/TheBillPressShow. And you subscribe to us. That is helpful. Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. You can follow me on Twitter, too, at Jimmy's Politics. Just be forewarned. If you troll me, I will block your happy ass so fast you won't even know that you even knew me. You can download the podcast, which is very important, on iTunes, and just search for, The Bill Press Show, and make sure you subscribe. And also, do us a favor. When you subscribe, make sure you leave a review and rate us, because that makes new listeners find the podcast. You can also find my podcast on iTunes as well, and other places like Stitcher, and that's called Decode DC, DECODEDC, Decode DC. We got a lot to get to, but before all of that...
This is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. All right, so there is a big marathon taking place in Beijing, and I didn't realize this because...
Is it running?
Yeah, because I don't run marathons.
I don't run ever, period.
Yeah, so there's a big problem, apparently, about people cheating in the marathon. So what they'll do is... No, I'm dead serious.
You don't cheat in China.
Yeah, so they will not take part in the race and then join halfway through or 3/4 of the way through.
Love it.
And then they'll just sort of sprint to the finish and get a good time because they didn't run the whole marathon.
Right.
So now in China, there is a new facial recognition software that they're going to be using. The Chinese Athletics Association said that they're going to use facial recognition for people at the starting line and at all different points throughout the race, right? Because this is a real problem for them.
Are these top 10 finishers that are cheating?
It's actually for the top 100 finishers is what they're doing. Just the top 100, because there are prizes given for the top 100.
Oh,
so so what they do
That's
is
like a pig or a sheep or a lamb.
I have no idea, but if you're one of the top 100, they start you off in a certain group. They look at the facial recognition software. They make sure that you didn't cheat along the way, and that you were there for the whole race.
So smart.
Yeah, and that's smart. That gets rid of the whole.
The Chinese are spying on the marathon runners.
Yeah,
shocking.
How about this? Okay. Congressional job approval declined to 20% in April. That's 8 points lower than what they had in February, which, by the way, that was a 7-year high, what they had in February. They said that was sort of riding off of the coattails.
Who are the
of
20%?
Inauguration. Yeah, 20%.
Friends and family of congressmen?
20% of people in April.
Who are the idiots in America that think Congress is doing a good job?
That's
Democrats and Republicans.
That's a very good question. Yeah. The drop was driven mainly by a loss of support among Republicans.
Oh, really?
Republicans did sort of still like Congress.
Buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse.
Buyer's remorse, exactly. Yes. So, yeah, if you're not a fan of Congress, you're not alone.
Oh, okay. Well,
20% approval rating.
I'm not a fan of Congress.
That's pretty
and I worked there.
Yeah.
What did Forrest Gump say? Dumb and Dumber? Which, who knows? I don't know. The Forrest Gump didn't say that. And we'll be right back.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
And it's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press. You can find us at BP Show on Facebook. I'm sorry, Bill Press Show on Facebook. You can also find us streaming video on YouTube.com. And to answer my friend Tom Judson's question, which he puts on Twitter, yes, Tom, you can find us on YouTube at The Bill Press Show.
YouTube.com/The Bill Press Show.
Right, so go to YouTube and put in The Bill Press Show, and you can see my gleaming, smiling face at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Follow us on Twitter at BP Show, and, of course, me at Jimmy's Politics. Don't troll me, because I will block your ass. We have a lot to get to today.
Sure do.
What you want to talk about first?
Well, let's see. It's Friday, and by the end of the day, we could be in like 6 wars.
Well,
Hello, Jerry.
Jesus Christ. Well, we've already bombed Syria. I'm like, fine. I tweeted out yesterday, okay, I get it. And then we bombed Afghanistan. I'm like, meh, okay, fine. And now we're going to bomb North Korea because we hate Seoul. We just hate South Korea. We hate kimchi.
Look,
that's why we're going to do this.
Look, like, this is crazy. This is so crazy.
I'm not joking.
I know. I know you're not joking. The Syria thing actually happened. It wasn't that effective by all accounts. And so...
What in gay hell was
Oh, you
that?
know what? I said Syria, and my phone call said, hey, Siri.
This
Nice.
happened yesterday with my bureau chief.
I can't say...
We were literally having a meeting, and she said Syria, and the phone turned on.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's triggered to...
Siri's so stupid. Sometimes she works when she wants to, but not when you want her
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
Ugh, this is why
Anyway,
I'm gay.
so we bombed Syria, and that has like had very little impact on the situation in Syria. The mother of all bombs, which we dropped yesterday or day before
Should it
yesterday.
be the father of all bombs?
Well, there is a father of all bombs.
It's called
Russia has it.
What is it?
It's the largest non-nuclear bomb that's
How many tons?
That's I couldn't tell you.
What was ours? 11?
I think it was. It was 11.
11 tons.
Yeah, 11 tons.
I was in the break room yesterday. I said it was 11,000 tons. And my friend Mike looked at me. He goes, "Do you understand what you just said? 11,000 tons." I'm like,
Imagine
that's
flying that bad boy.
right. He goes, "The plane isn't." I'm like, "Oh, maybe you mean 11."
Yeah, 11 tons. Yeah, it's an 11
I was
ton
never good at math.
We dropped a very, very, very big
bomb, right?
in Afghanistan.
Right, apparently.
And
Remote Afghanistan.
In remote Afghanistan,
Right.
which the official story is there were a lot of tunnels and caves there, and that this bomb specifically impacts the ground in such a way that if you were in a tunnel anywhere close to that spot where it hit, you are now a pancake. It just forces down all of the ground around you. It just craters.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. I can't
Is there
promise you I have
anything
an
in
answer.
Afghanistan other than tunnels and mountains?
Look, I don't have an answer to that question.
I mean, back in the day when it was a cool place, they had the Silk Road, but I don't think that's there now.
Well, look,
know?
here's the big problem that I see that what we're walking into
Mhm.
is Trump has taken this sort of new turn towards
Bomb.
Yeah.
Right.
like in
100 days. How many
in a
bombs?
week's time.
How many bombs have we dropped in 100 days?
We've dropped a lot of bombs, and we're talking about the noticeable ones like the big first one that happened in Syria.
Yeah.
And then this big mother of all bombs they dropped in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this situation in North Korea, but we've also dropped other bombs, right? Like we killed 200 civilians in Syria a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
We killed 18 rebel Syrian fighters who were on our side earlier this week.
Oh, that's helpful.
So, like, we just continue to drop bombs on people, and that's just normal now.
You know what's so fascinating about this whole thing is, is Trump saying to do this, or the generals just? I mean, is he just like, okay, I'm gonna have the best generals ever, and so he just says, all right, guys, here's the deal. I'm the president now. Just go bomb what you want, or is he actually saying, go bomb this place?
That's a good question, because he was asked about that yesterday, and he didn't give a straight answer.
Do we have that tape?
Everybody knows exactly what happened. And what I do is I authorize my military. We have the greatest military in the world, and they've done a job as usual. So we have given them total authorization.
So during the campaign, our military was not the greatest. Now it is the greatest because we're bombing people, and he can't say whether he actually said bomb them.
Yeah.
I'm terribly confused on a Friday morning in April.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is what everybody was worried about. This is when you
That's the nicest thing you've ever said.
Well, no, I mean, when you let me put it this way, like when we were in the election, and you had all these Republicans and all these generals who came out and said Donald Trump can't be president because he'll do some crazy stuff, like just
this is it.
Sorry, but this is what we were talking about. This situation in North Korea, where North Korea is going to do another nuclear test. They've said that they're going to do it.
It's the 105th anniversary of somebody who founded the something. Yes.
Right.
Right.
So, like, they're going to do another nuclear test, and we have said that we might preemptively strike North Korea if they do another nuclear test.
And then they're just going to bomb the hell out of Seoul.
Think about that.
So, like, South Korea will cease to exist.
Yeah.
It will go away.
Like, we will bomb Korea.
Right. I've been there. I went on a congressional delegation trip when I was a staffer. And I actually, there's that line between North and South, right? Called the DMZ.
Demilitarized.
Also known as the DMV, if you ever gotten your driver's license, right? And so they're a table, and they're like these little teeny warehouses that have been since the Cold War. And you go in on the South Korean side. I mean, and North Korea is like right there. And you walk into this building, and there's a long table, and there are microphones just like these, and the microphones are live because the North Koreans want to hear what's going on. And you can walk across the line, the longitudinal line into North Korea, and there's a door, and if you go out the door, you've defected. And they were like, don't defect.
Wow.
Right? And we're like, don't worry, I need to go back to, like, America. But it was eerie. And then as soon as you walk across the line, the North Korean soldiers would come up and look through the window at you. It was freaky.
Well, I believe that's true.
Yeah.
That's
like, and they had their weapons, the whole 9 yards. And now all of a sudden, Donald Trump, our president, our fearless leader, fearless being the operative word, seems to think that needs to. Really, we're going to bomb North Korea? Now, China, to their credit, did come out and they said this. They said we're going to cut off oil to them, which they need, if they do this military show of force, which they do again every year on this date. And so that's helpful. Thanks, China. How about this? How about just starve the people? Cut off all their food, cut off all their oil, cut off everything, and make it so that they don't do this thing.
Yeah, sure.
We are at some sort of weird, like, precipice here because Donald Trump seems to want to bomb everything.
Like, up until this point, we've had a lot of people talking about, World War III and what's coming and all this stuff. And I don't necessarily buy into it, but...
Well, thank God he likes NATO now. That's all I can say.
But when he starts saying things about, like, we might preemptively strike in North Korea because they're doing a missile test, that scares the hell out of me.
It should scare the hell out of you. It should scare the hell out of the listeners that are paying attention to this. And the bottom line
by the way, no matter what they say, because they've already started to walk back a little bit, like, I completely 100% believe that he is capable of doing that.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it my nephew says? Totes obvi. Totes obvi. Jamie, is that something y'all say as millennials?
I don't know, Jimmy.
That's a yes.
That means yes.
That's a yes.
So, hey, y'all.
IDK, Jimmy.
IDK. ROFML, whatever it is.
Rafflecopter.
That's it. Yes. These are all acronyms that millennials use, and I think it's fabulous. By the way, did y'all know that I call Jamie Polititwink? Y'all should know that. It's fabulous. It's the best thing ever.
Wouldn't be the Jimmy Williams show without one of those.
All right, let's get off this awful, terrible. We're going to come back to this whole thing about bombing and stuff like that. So, look, Congress is at 20%. The president wants to bomb stuff. The jobs reports didn't come in the way they were supposed to come in, or the jobs numbers did not come in, even though unemployment fell. And I guess my question is how's he doing? He botched health care, and then he said, it was Congress's fault. He didn't repeal Obamacare. He didn't replace Obamacare. And Steve Scalise, who's the majority whip in the House, a guy from Louisiana with ties to white supremacy groups.
He actually is in this so that he can whip minorities, not majority whip.
My God. You totally just said that, didn't you? I didn't even go that far. You did, but I'm okay with it because you said it. But here's the deal. The deal is he then said, we're closer than ever to repealing and replacing Obama. We're like, no, you're not. You're not closer than anything. And the reason you're not is because you have the same membership you had before. And so, they can't get this done. I mean, what now they're saying they're going to do tax reform? Are they going to do tax reform, do you think?
No.
Do you know what tax reform is?
Donald Trump does.
Well, yeah, to cut his taxes.
To cut his taxes.
Right, that's simple. I understand that.
I think that it's very clear that the Republicans are not, nor should they ever be, the governing party. Like, they have no idea what they're doing. This healthcare thing, for as much grief as we give Donald Trump for being a bad and clueless and unorganized president, all of which are true, the healthcare thing was not his fault. That was Paul Ryan's fault. He put an arbitrary
I'll give you that.
date out of the middle of nowhere that they insisted that we were going to have this vote on this date. Didn't get the votes. Like, let this crappy bill get through to like people he knew weren't going to vote for it.
That's right.
That lands at the feet of Paul Ryan, who's had a long time to fix, in his eyes, the problem of healthcare.
7 years.
Yeah, 7 years.
7 years.
So, like, yes, Donald Trump is a very bad and unorganized and clueless president, but, like, the Republicans don't know how to govern. This is Paul Ryan. This is the guy that wants to be president. This is the guy that ran for vice president. This is the guy that is...
Oh, my God. I totally forgot that he ran for vice president.
I know. I forget about it all the time.
Do I have early onset, or was that just a blip in memory?
It was just so forgettable.
Oh, my God. I cannot believe I totally forgot
he
that
was
he
a
ran for
vice president. He debated Joe Biden.
He totally did. Totes Avi.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And he got his ass handed to him. But here's the thing, though.
Well, that's Uncle Joe.
For all of the beating up of Donald Trump and having a bad president, or being a bad president, I agree with all that. But, like, Paul Ryan couldn't get the signature legislation through the Republicans that the Republicans swore they were going to get done. They couldn't get that done. So are they going to get tax reform done? Absolutely effing not.
Now, listen, I worked on the 2001 tax bill. I worked on the 2002 tax bill, too. And I got to tell you, that bill was a hard slog. Now, the last time we actually did tax reform, like real tax reform, was 1986. I was not a staffer in 1986. In fact, I was a sophomore at the Citadel.
Sure.
Okay, you weren't even born. Shut it. Actually, what year were you born?
1989.
You weren't even like a zygote.
My birthday's coming up. You get me something, Jimmy?
Oh, I got something for you. I got something for you. Yeah. 5 fingers right here. Boom.
Please calm down.
Just calm down. You asked. Don't ask a question. You don't know the answer to, as I tell all members of Congress and senators. Wait, when is your birthday? Wait.
It's pretty easy.
Okay.
No, as in like the date. So it's coming right up.
His birthday is his destiny. He was born on 4/20.
Okay, well that's easy for you.
Yeah.
What is it?
So why do they call it that?
How much time do we have?
Well, we have 12 minutes, but I don't understand why we call it that. Why can't we just call it pot?
Oh, we call it pot.
Or hooch, or marijuana.
We call hooch.
Supposedly 420 is the international code for stoners to get together and smoke at that time.
420, like in the afternoon?
Or in the morning.
Well, listen, I hate to bring. Okay.
Can you tell you're sitting with 2 pot smokers right now?
Well, I smoke pot, but come on. I mean, here's the deal. I had to like not smoke it before I went to work and to get my drug test to become an employee.
Oh.
And so like for 2 months, I was so terrified if I smoke, and then people would be like, no, get it out of here. If I breathe that in, it's going to be in my blood or my urine. I'm like, oh my God. And then of course, everyone was like, did you pass your test? I'm like, well, I showed up for work. Thank you. Hello.
Here's a fun fact.
What?
The whole 30 days of the marijuana in your system.
Yeah,
it's really kind of a myth.
So what is the actual day?
What is the tell our listeners?
If you were to
what
smoke,
is how long is
secret?
If you were to smoke pot like today, and assuming
at 4:20 p.m.
at 4:20 p.m. and you haven't smoked a lot of pot before today,
right?
Like it'll be out of your system in like tomorrow.
What? No.
Oh,
it's true.
You are setting up all these little.
I'm serious. It's a myth. If you smoke pot every single day, and then you go take a drug, like it'll stay in your system for probably 30 days. But if you smoke pot like once out of nowhere,
right,
it's not going to be in your system the next day.
Well, people don't even smoke pot anymore. They just eat like gummy bears.
Yeah, they use like the vaporizer.
It's still in your system though.
No, it's not. It's not enough to get detected. I'm telling you. From experience.
I thought you were an expert on this, Jamie Polititwink.
I thought I was too, but I don't know.
Learn from the master.
I guess.
The master.
I'm just telling you.
The master of pot disaster.
No, learn from my elders is the way that it's.
You need to stop this ageism bullshit.
Seriously. Listen to my real dad, Jimmy Williams.
Oh, my God. Deal for the day. Thank you very much. Speaking of DOD, oh, no, we were talking about taxes, weren't we?
Taxes, yeah.
All right, so listen, here's the deal. That was actually real tax reform in 1986. And it was also revenue neutral. And here's what they figured out. When they passed the 1986 tax bill, in 1987, the real estate industry got slammed. They screwed the real estate industry. Guess who got slammed? Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump. That's what happened the last time they passed tax reform. And now let me ask this question to you and to our listeners. Do you think for a millisecond that we're going to do a tax reform bill that the White House is, quote, taking the lead on, according to Sean Spicer, the White House press secretary, and that they're going to make sure, are they actually going to do something in tax reform that's not going to screw Donald Trump over like they did in 1986? No. That means they're not going to do tax reform. Everybody should get a little bit of pain in tax reform.
I want to be very clear about what's going on here.
It's a lie.
It's all BS.
Yeah.
It's all BS. And it should be pointed out that, it would maybe not be unfathomable for the Republicans to pull this off.
Say that 15 times. Stone.
Unfathomable.
And then
unfathomable.
And then spell it.
So it would not be completely out of the realm of possible for the Republicans to get this done. But here's the problem.
Yes.
There are moderate Republicans. And even the moderate Republicans are having...
Stop.
Well,
silence. Who are the moderate Republicans?
Okay, let me put it this way. There are some who are principled...
I want them.
Principled conservative, right?
I used to be one of these.
The problem is the people are showing up to their town halls and they're protesting, and those moderate Republicans are feeling the pressure. They know.
Oh, you mean in America there are moderate Republicans?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you meant in Congress. And the
No,
answer
I mean
is
in Congress.
No,
I mean
who?
Well,
besides
I should say,
Ileana Ross-Letnin. There's nobody left.
There aren't a lot. But look, if they were all hardcore, heartless Republicans, they would have just repealed health care. But these guys felt their conscience.
It's the same thing on the left too. There are no moderate Democrats left.
Okay, I don't
four blue dogs.
I don't disagree with that.
Right.
But my point is, there are some who will not say simply, we have got to take away health care from everybody.
Yeah.
Right? They've learned that lesson. They've seen what their voters will say. Right? So that's going to be their problem. They know that they live in districts that aren't slam dunk red, that if they were to redo tax reform to help out Donald Trump and his people or take away health care, that they're going to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And that's all they care about.
Right. Well,
so
listen.
That's going to be a problem for everything else they want to get done from here on out.
So jobs. I watched. There was this great thing with the museum just had a round of an entire day of the First Amendment, freedom of the press, and brought in a whole slew of major press people. One of them was the guy from Breitbart. What is his? Charlie Sneeringer, is that his name? I can't remember his name.
Spearing.
Who? Spearing.
Oh, that little guy, yeah.
Yeah. He's very smart. I don't think he's not intelligent. I think that guy's terrifyingly smart.
We can have that debate.
We're going to have a fact check on that one. But.
Okay. Well, the point, listen, do I think he's, Dr. Jonas Salk? No. But, I think he's smart. Okay. I don't agree with virtually anything that he has to say. But he did say this. He goes, Trump's running around bombing all these places, blah, 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 and he's not doing any of the things that he said he was going to do on the campaign trail,
right.
Which is jobs, build a wall, et cetera, immigration. And guess what? He hasn't.
No.
When Breitbart's calling out the president of the United States and saying, then something's going down, right?
Yeah.
And he even said, he goes, just put one brick down. Just put one brick on top of another, and we'll just call it a day. I'm like, really? If that's your idea of success, if that's the bar, if that's the measurement for success these days, then we have way bigger problems here. So when if the crazy fake news, right-wing news is saying the president isn't doing his thing, like jobs, and he'll say, oh, well, we saved this plant, you can't keep doing that. That's the bigger problem here. You cannot keep doing things like, I'm going to force Mitsubishi to build 14 cars in Iowa. That's just not going to work. and he's not going to be able to create these, quote, jobs. Coal miners aren't getting their jobs back. He hauled them into the EPA, which was laughable in every measure, and said, I'm going to make sure that you have jobs back. Here's the dirty little secret. Coal company CEOs don't want men and women in the coal mines. They want robots in the coal mines because robots don't get black lung.
Yeah.
And robots don't have sick children and don't call into work sick. They just go and take the coal out and extract it. And that's how it's going to work. So those jobs were going away well before. They're never going to come back. The coal is way more expensive than it used to be. And by the way, here's another dirty little secret for our listeners. You know the most important coal plant in America, or coal-powered electric plant in America? Do you know where it is?
Where?
Right here. The U.S. Capitol is powered by coal.
No, come on, really?
I am totally serious because of the late Robert C. Byrd, the former senator from West Virginia.
Are you serious?
Ladies and gentlemen, your Congress is powered, sadly, by coal. Can't make it up.
I had no idea.
Yep.
That's insane. That's completely insane.
I'm your vessel of worthless knowledge every single day of your life. Don't forget about it. So here's the deal. He's not going to be able to bring those jobs back. He's not going to be able to do tax reform. He can try, and then every lobbyist in downtown Washington is going to be like, "Oh no, don't touch that. That's my sacred cow." And for every lobbyist saying that means they got a member in their pocket, and every member is going to be like, "No, you can't touch that." He sends up his budget, which is called the skinny budget, which is the biggest load of BS I've ever seen in my entire life, dead on arrival. If Lindsey Graham is telling you that your budget is dead on arrival, I hate to tell the president and the White House, your budget is dead on arrival. He's got another budget coming out in May, a bigger budget. This will be the budget that's like this thick as opposed to this thick. Guess what that budget's going to be? Dead on arrival.
Yeah.
So he needs some wins. And bombing Syria and bombing Afghanistan, and by the way, bombing North Korea are not called wins. Those are not wins. You cannot bomb your way into re-election. You can't. This is not 1942.
There is a very disturbing pattern taking place. When Donald Trump gave his address to Congress, the State of the Union, and he talked about the Navy SEAL that died and the botched raid that he oversaw and poorly planned for. Everybody stood up and gave him a round of applause. Van Jones went on TV and said this is the moment that he became president. All right.
Thanks, Van.
All right. We send a bomb to Syria. We kill some people in Syria.
The mother of all bombs.
We bomb.
No. That was different. Those are lots of different bombs.
Right. Those were different bombs.
Right.
We send the mother of all bombs.
I've got my bombs confused.
After he bombs Syria, people go on it. Oh, this is the moment he became president. This is a presidential moment. So Fareed Zakaria said that. No, but my point here is the only positive reinforcement that we're giving this president is when he kills American soldiers, when he kills soldiers, right? That's what it takes for him to look presidential. That's what it takes for the media to finally line up and tell him what a good job he's doing is when he starts a war or kills Americans. I think that's a bad precedent to set. And you look at these guys like Brian Williams and Chris Cillizza. Sorry, Jamie, I know you're a big fan. Chris Cillizza, who are lining up to talk about how wonderful it is that we're starting another war. I don't
think that's what Chris said. He didn't say it's wonderful that we started up another war.
All right. No, he's not saying it's wonderful that he started another war, but he is
not to defend Chris.
Very gung ho. Yeah, no, that's fine. You can defend Chris. That's fine.
No, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying he didn't say
that verbatim. But like, there is a weird bloodthirst among these people who watched the Iraq War play out, and who enabled the Iraq War to play out.
No, I agree with all that.
And so here we are again, and nobody's going and saying this. SEAL that died in this botched raid, that lays at the feet of Donald Trump.
Well, he blamed the generals.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Which is insane.
Right.
These bombs.
Best generals, and he blamed them.
And they blamed them. Okay. We can't keep dropping bombs on civilians in other countries, which is what we're doing, and saying, oh, what a great leader he is.
All right.
By the way, the Pentagon has released video of the mother of all bomb in Afghanistan. So I just tweeted it out. If you're following
you tweeted it out?
At JBensonDC.
So was it a political tweet?
It was a Polititweet.
It was a Polititweet.
Only this morning. It's a special edition
breaking right
from
here
my
on the
Twitter
BP,
profile
on the BP show from
Polititweet.
Jamie Benson's Twitter profile.
That's right.
You know, we're about to wrap up here and go into break, but I guess my question then is, well, Bill Clinton did this too.
Sure he did, and it was wrong then.
Yes. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
All right, because presidents like to use the bombs.
Yeah. And maybe they shouldn't.
Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. Here's the deal. We'll be back in a little bit, and we have more great news for you. Rejoin us.
Hello, Jerry.
Download our podcast. Search for The Bill Press Show on iTunes. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Bill Press Show.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. At work or at play, you're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Oh, hey. She's cute. Nice going, man. Things are going great for you. You've earned a night out. Good drinks, good friends. Yeah, we can go ahead and call this a good night. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Not smart. Yeah, I saw that coming. Say goodbye to her. Ouch, that'll hurt your bank account. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. I hope you like eating frozen dinners. Alone. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
It's harder whenever there's a bigger group. Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
I spy something beginning with S.
Snow?
No.
Snow-covered trees?
Nothing to do with snow.
Head outside to discover incredible animals and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure.
Wow.
So grab your loved ones.
Don't even.
And explore a world of possibilities.
Come on, this way.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you.
Being prepared is a part of who you are. But it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you'll go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Same great show, new great channel. Stream live video at youtube.com/The Bill Press Show.
And it's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press here with Peter. And you can do me a favor, please go on Facebook.com, like us at Bill Press Show. And if you want to watch us, you can watch us on YouTube.com, and that would be at The Bill Press Show. Please subscribe to us. You can tweet us on Twitter at BP Show. You can tweet me at Jimmy's Politics. And do me a favor, download this podcast. It is important. These things matter, people. Podcasts matter. Trust me, I'm a podcaster. And these things are important for us to make sure new listeners get to us. So go to iTunes, look up The Bill Press Show, and then rate us. iTunes likes that. With us in the studio is Esther Lee. She's an immigration reporter with ThinkProgress. Good morning.
Good morning, Jimmy.
How are
Hi,
you?
Peter.
Hello.
Whoa,
what was this? Hi, Peter.
It's a Friday. Hello.
It's 7:30
nice
in the
to
morning
see
on
you.
a Friday.
It's
That's
so good to
exactly
see you.
right, yes. You can find Esther on Twitter. Would you say that, please?
Sure. It's Esther Yu-Hsi Lee at Twitter.
So that's Esther, ESTHERYUHSI Lee.
I got to say, Esther Lee was taken by somebody who's not currently using her Twitter profile. So I'm not very happy.
She is a bad person.
I agree. Like, she should give that Twitter handle to me.
She should totes give that to you. Is she an egg, or what's it now? Just like a human body thing?
It's like a human body thing now.
Really?
I don't think she's used her profile since like 2015.
There's a Bill Press out there. There's an @Bill Press who doesn't tweet.
Interesting. See, these are the squatters. We should get out of the country.
Well, I got on early with it, and I have like 3 Twitter handles. I use one for politics, one for food, and one for porn.
I would follow your food account.
Yes, right.
Actually, I'm following all of Jimmy's.
I don't
Jimmy's
use the
politics.
porn. I don't use the porn one very often.
Oh, here you are, sweaty and ready.
No, that's sweaty and ready. Thank you very much. Shut up, Jamie. Jamie is itching to get in on this, and we're not going to let him. Yeah, because he's just a By the way, we call him Polititwink. Isn't that fabulous?
That's great.
And his birthday's on 4/20. Get it? Okay, right. So he's got a birthday coming up. If I don't see you, happy birthday.
Baby.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, aren't you precious? You're precious to Jesus and to me. You know that?
Sure.
A friend of mine, my best friend, his aunt, who was a missionary, gave us pins that one that said on them, and they were missionaries in Alaska. I'm like, we already own Alaska. You don't have to be a missionary there. And it said, you are precious to Jesus and to me. And I'm like, they misspelled precious. And he goes, I'm not worried about that. What about the Jesus stuff? Yeah. He's an atheist. And I'm like, I'm worried about the Perseus. This is very worrisome for me. I still have that pin somewhere. I still have it.
I want to see that.
It's a good thing. Let's talk about immigration. I did put my podcast out yesterday on Decode DC, at Decode DC, and we basically went to Frederick County, Maryland. Mm-hmm. There's a sheriff there named Chuck Jenkins, and they are participating in a program with the feds, with ICE, and this is called the 287G program. Most people don't know what this is.
The Secure Communities Program.
That's basically it. And basically it says, okay, local Barney Fife, local cops, local Popo, you get to now be federal agents.
Yeah, it is something that immigrants are very scared of, but many people in the law enforcement community, it's actually pretty split among the law enforcement community as to whether or not they want to follow this.
Okay.
So part of the problem with this particular program is that it allows local law enforcement officials to give the personal information of these immigrants who have been booked and arrested in local county jails to hand their information over to the federal government to process as they wish, whether or not it's to detain or arrest them for to prepare them for deportation proceedings.
So what we found in our research for this with my brilliant producer Eric Krupke was that we highlighted 2 people yesterday in the podcast. The first one was this guy who was brought in, and by the way, under the Obama administration. He had not murdered anyone. He had not gang raped anyone. He had not been a drug pusher. He just was brought in for like virtually no reason.
That happens a lot more often than you would think.
And I used to decry the Obama administration for doing this stuff. Like, I'm just one of the few progressives out there saying, "Hey, Obama, stop deporting people who aren't doing anything wrong."
He has conducted about more than 2 million, I think was the official stat. It's been more than 2 million deportations. And
yet Donald Trump's the deporter-in-chief.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
So, Obama, as imperfect as he was, he did give the authority to tell federal agents to detain and deport immigrants who have committed serious felonies. And that really separates his stance from President Donald Trump's stance. President Donald Trump has expanded the kinds of criminal activity that would qualify for deportation proceedings. So even something like being undocumented in general.
That's considered a serious crime.
That's now considered a very serious crime. And we have 11.3 million undocumented immigrants in this country, many of whom are now really, really worried. And there are protected statuses, such as, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program.
DACA, right.
That's right. And, even for those people, they're not safe. As we have seen over the past 3 months, we've seen some of these DACA recipients being hauled into detention.
Right.
And the only reason, well, I wouldn't say the only reason, but perhaps why a lot of them were released is because of the media outcry, the public outcry.
Correct, yeah.
So,
without that, then they they might have actually been deported.
Exactly.
Having lived here forever. I mean, this is. Here's what. Look, I will say this. Having done this we did this is a series of podcasts we've done. Breaking the law by entering the country is breaking the law. But you know what? A lot of Americans break the law.
When you're speeding, let's just take speeding for example. If you're going 5 miles over the speed limit, you are breaking the law.
Sure, absolutely.
And
shoplifting is breaking the law.
Right.
You know, child molesting is breaking the law.
Absolutely.
Last time I checked, we don't deport child molesters.
Well, they should certainly be quarantined somewhere.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
But, you know, there are reasons for why people leave their countries. Many people seem to think that these people are coming into America to bring crime and to bring, you know, all these different and difficult problems into this country. But a lot of them are fleeing their countries because of violence. You know, there is
El Salvador,
like that. Exactly. El
Right.
Salvador, Honduras, they are consistently the murder capitals of the world, right? So there are reasons why people flee the country, their countries, to come to America. And I feel like that conversation has been very lost in this entire debate and over immigration.
One of the other people that we highlighted, we left their names out, obviously, but we have the tape. It was a woman who, she was here. She's been here, I think, since 2006. She came across the border, was detained, given a court date, moved to Maryland, began working, has family, the whole 9 yards, never showed up for her court date. Boom, they pick her up. She's on her lunch break behind the fast food restaurant where she's working.
Wow.
And they said it was not racial profiling. Okay, that's another conversation. We can get into that in a minute. The reason, and something else happened with her. The father of her child was abusing her. She called local authorities.
Right.
They deported him.
As they should.
Good. I'm totally okay with that.
I am in support of that.
You're going to get zero argument from Jamie Williams about someone who's abusing a spouse.
Yep.
Okay? So now, because she missed her court date in Texas, they're going to deport her by June.
Gosh.
They're going to send her back to the guy that was abusing her before, who's promised to kill her.
Well,
I mean, what kind of family value is that?
Also, what kind of compassionate immigration system is that, right?
Yeah, she applied for a Visa U, which is
Right.
a specific visa that you apply for if you're being abused.
You talk, by the way, about the compassion that's involved here, right? Like, I will say
Or lack thereof.
Right.
Right.
Like, we've talked to you before about what the Obama administration did and how it sort of paved the way for what Trump is doing. But I think that if nothing else, if you remove all that and you look just at what Jeff Sessions said this week.
Oh, golly. That was really compassionate. So
it was awful.
Well, let's talk about that.
It was
I mean,
awful.
You know, that's pretty sad. That's a sad sack of you know.
Well, it's just, to me, what it is it's just so naked. Like, it's not, we're here to try and, you know, make life better for people here in America. They're like, we're trying to ruin life for people who want to come over here.
Well, he's certainly there's no longer a line between undocumented people who are here because they fled for their lives or are trying to make something of themselves to make their lives better. And now there's no line between those people and criminals, right?
Right.
Because now
But that's the thing.
everybody is a criminal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Sessions was down at the Arizona border this week,
Yeah.
and he gave this big speech about how they're expanding the criminal, the types of crimes that qualify for like felonies. So, you know, like one of the things that he said was that he would make it a felony if you smuggled 3 or more people. So that would include like parents who are coming up across the border
With their children.
kids.
Right.
And that he also talked about how like they would be tougher on immigration enforcement for people who are, you know, use identity fraud. And for a lot
Like a
of
fake driver's license.
fake driver's
Right,
license,
right.
or, you know, even expanding the people who drive without a driver's license. And the fact is that only 12 states in our nation currently give driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants.
Correct, yes.
So by virtue of being undocumented in so many other states, you are committing a crime, but you have to. You kind of have to, because you want to get to work. You want to take your kids to school. You know, there's like no way around being undocumented.
I'd rather
and
them have a
criminal.
driver's license so they can get insurance so that if something happens.
Precisely
I mean,
that.
Don't call me crazy here, right? But I mean, like the woman that we were talking about, she lived in the state of Maryland. The state of Maryland allows for undocumented immigrants to have certain people to have certain types of licenses. She's had it for a year and 8 months. She's never been pulled over for that.
Right.
Just for everything else, just for being on lunch break, right?
But imagine that woman living in some other state, any of the states outside of the 12 states that give undocumented licenses.
California and others, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Every day when you go to work, you're just fearful of being pulled over and finding out that
gets to the racial profiling stuff.
Right.
I asked Sheriff Jenkins, Chuck Jenkins, he's the sheriff in Frederick County, who's a big Tea Party guy, who I enjoyed talking to. I liked talking with Sheriff Jenkins. We talked basketball, college basketball. He's a Duke fan. I got it. He did not. He did not do well in the pool. But by the way, nobody in America did. If that's the case.
Yeah, fair.
But he was interesting to listen to, and I wanted to hear what he had to say. There are always two sides to every argument. That's one thing I figured out in my 50 years on this earth. But I said to him, "Do you racially profile?" And he said, "Absolutely not." Then we spoke with attorneys who represent immigrants that are here, and they were like, "Well, of course." And I was actually talking to my bureau chief about this yesterday. How does one determine when one is racially profiled?
It's very hard, but in other cities, like in Culver City, in California, and in at least 11 other counties in California, they do. It is really interesting to see some of these places that declare themselves as like sanctuary cities.
Sure.
And sanctuary cities are basically places where they don't necessarily work together with the local law enforcement doesn't necessarily work together with the federal government. But they have said these things, but on the books in their police manuals, it says there are many criteria within these police manuals to determine whether or not to pursue these immigrants as criminals and to turn them over to the federal government. So in places like Culver City and in 11 other cities in California, there is one of the requirements in their police manual is to determine whether or not an immigrant has English proficiency. And that may not necessarily be...
Hell, I don't have English proficiency. I'm from South Carolina. Peter's mildly stupid. My God, he barely can speak English. He can speak Southern real good.
I mostly just am on the radio because I can speak in a series of grunts.
You have a very, weatherman-friendly accent.
It's cold today. Yes.
Good morning, everybody.
Jamie, did you want to chime in?
You're doing some serious soul searching listening to these people here tonight.
By the way, that sound is from Senator Jeff Flake's town hall yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, you want to hear the whole thing?
Yeah, because Jamie thinks it's me.
I didn't realize he had such a put-on Southern accent.
Well, apparently Arizona is a retirement state. Let's listen to this.
I had no idea this is what Jeff Flake sounded like.
No, this isn't Jeff Flake. This is his constituent.
Oh, it's his constituent.
Good
okay.
Lord, woman, do you need some marijuana up in here?
Probably.
Oh,
no,
Lord.
please don't.
No, we won't do it.
Esther's going to have
we
a
won't do it while Esther's
Play
around.
this tape out because I want people to hear this guy and know it is not me acting like a constituent.
My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, but as I stand here and look at you, it looks like you're smiling an awful lot. And I hope that smile, behind that smile, that you're doing some serious soul searching, listening to these people here tonight.
Bill Clinton in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
I hope you're doing
Jimmy,
some
I
serious
really love
soul searching.
That was
karaoke,
political karaoke.
Also known in South Carolina's drag.
You're smiling an awful lot.
You're smiling an awful lot.
Behind that smile.
I hope to see you smile an awful lot.
And I hope behind that smile.
It's just so ridiculous. I'm like, where in gay hell are you? Phoenix or
there's a certain
Spartanburg.
There's like a certain subset of Southern that almost sounds like English with a Spanish accent. Like Southerners who call like William. What's that, William? Right? Like it almost sounds Spanish. Right?
And I
hope.
Or CC Puede.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Yes.
By the way, I remember I was in Grant Park when Obama said that. I was like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And my friends were like, you're an idiot. I'm like, okay, fine. I know it means something really, really good, but what does it mean? They're like, yes, you can. I'm like, oh, I totally agree with that. I'm like, I'm such an idiot. I have no idea.
I mean,
and I took 4 years of
very
Spanish.
Good chant.
Yeah, it's a wonderful chant, yes. I took 4 years of Spanish. I remember none of it. That's sad.
Make me mad.
So stupid. Oh, my God. Anyway, can we talk about the issue of sanctuary cities? Because President Trump has said that he wants to cut federal funds off for these local entities and towns and counties and states that are providing, quote, sanctuary. Can he do that?
I think he can, but I know that there's going to be a lot of pushback from.
Will Congress let him?
I believe that Congress would probably not let him because a lot of the federal funds that he's threatening to cut off are necessary for people who aren't immigrants, right?
Sure.
There are things like Pell Grants that might be cut, and that doesn't.
They're going to cut those anyway. Esther. Come on, girl, please. Don't even act like there's going to be a Pell Grant after 2017 because that's gone, right?
That's really depressing. But you know, like it is federal funds that go to resources that not only immigrants access. It's going to be resources that Americans access too.
Sure.
So of course, I don't think Congress is going to go that far. But even though there's the threat of federal funding being cut off,
sure.
I know there are a lot of local and state jurisdictions that are saying, no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen. So we have people like the Seattle mayor who's like, I don't care what you're going to do. We're not going to let you do this. Excuse me. And you also have like people like the New York City mayor, Bill de Blasio.
Yeah.
He's also said, try it, right? Don't you dare. It's not going to happen because it's just not going to happen.
So it's a big old F you dare, basically,
exactly.
is what it is. Yeah.
And it's probably not going to happen. It's going to be probably like the campaign promise on the wall, the border wall, right? It's going to be not as expansive as Trump had hoped for or had laid out for his constituents. It's probably going to be something smaller that affects a very small group of people.
I'm going to say something contrarian. Don't be shocked. Why not build the wall? Take it off the table. Listen, we are having in America.
It's a take-quake. Here comes a take-quake, a hot take-quake.
Well, no, I'm being serious about this. Everyone runs around and says, build a wall. I don't want them coming in. Okay, fine. I tell you what. I want you to build the wall. I want you to build a wall across Canada and the United States, and I want you to build a wall across Mexico and the United States. And then what does that do? It takes a political equation. It takes the politics off the table, and what you're left then with is a moral debate.
Right.
So I'm totally okay with the idea of building a wall. I think billionaires should pay for it, of which Donald Trump is not one. He's just a millionaire. But I think we should absolutely 1,000% build that wall. And then, guess what? No one can sit around and say, oh, I don't have a job because of those people. No, you don't have a job because you're lazy. And guess what? And nobody can say, and by the way, cuts out all the drugs. Inspect every car that comes across the border into the United States. Oh, and by the way, inspect every car going back across the border.
That would be good.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. So let's just build the damn wall.
If you think that would cut politics out of the discussion,
I'm just saying it just gets rid of their entire argument. Yeah. So build the stupid-ass wall.
But the wall is there. Let's talk about the wall itself, right?
Yeah.
There are already 700 miles of border fencing.
Sure.
And much of it has aerial surveillance. It has
Border Patrol and all these
Patrol.
things, right.
And it actually does work. We are already experiencing a massive dip in the number of people who cross the border.
In fact, it's a negative, it's a reverse number.
Exactly.
Now. Right.
And that's been the case for maybe a decade or so.
Right.
You have to fact check me on that. But it has been the case that there has been a reversal. So what the government should be focusing on isn't on building a wall, because that would also, there are also other problems that come with building.
Well, Mexico's going to pay for it, so it's not a big
obviously,
deal.
Obviously.
Right.
But,
Yeah,
there are other issues that come with building a wall. You have environmental disaster that's going to come with building a wall, right? It's always going to flood in certain areas.
Because of the Rio Grande floods from time to time.
It does happen.
I'm just thinking outside the box. If my friend's basements flood, I'm pretty sure a big river does, right? Yeah.
It does. And you're also endangering a lot of these animals like jaguars and ocelots and all these really cute animals that could become extinct.
What in gay hell is an ocelot?
It's like a really cute cat. It's like one of those really cute
Does
cats.
it attack you?
I don't think it would. I mean, if you make it mad enough, it will.
Well, hell, if I make my dog mad enough, he'll attack me. I mean, come on. Jeez. I've had him for 12 years. He still, gets pissed off at me. Come on.
You're also taking land away from ranchers and farmers and, all these people who have land on both sides of the border, right?
Sure.
So the border is there already. And the problem with undocumented or unauthorized migration isn't necessarily with border crossers anymore. It's with people who overstay their visas. So really what you need is a more modern sort of biometric system that...
Are you saying we should chip these people?
No, please don't. Let's not.
Because I did that with my dog. Maybe that's why he's so pissed off at me.
We're not going to chip
Literally 12
humans.
years ago, he's pissed off. He's holding a grudge because I chipped him in case he ran away.
That is different. A pet is different from a human.
By the way, if I had a child, I would totally chip my child and be like, "Where is my child?
Well, that's why you have the
Where is my
iPhone tracking
Where are the
device.
children? They're gone. Here they are. Where's
I just got my
iPhone?"
kids' iPhones.
That's what you do. You
Which
track
is
them on
basically a
iPhone.
chip in their palm. Yeah, right.
That's
right.
different. They're children. They should be chipped.
Yeah. Fair. Totally fair.
Great sound.
Jamie, you're over 18. You can't be chipped. Yes.
Oh, Jamie's chipped. That was the
Jamie
condition
was
when
chipped.
we
He just
hired him
didn't
here
know.
at the show.
I met Jamie's parents. They totally chipped him. There's no doubt about it.
Well, he is still very young. My
Probably
God.
for the best.
Oh, that's why we call him the POLITICO. Absolutely.
Sure.
Someone take the soundboard away from him, please. Let me just do that.
I love it.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so look, I just think they're going to continue to play politics. Both sides are playing politics with these people's lives.
Right.
And that's the disgusting part about this. And the big takeaway for me on immigration is Congress has done absolutely nothing.
They haven't. You're correct.
And that pisses me off.
They had a chance to pass comprehensive immigration reform in
They have a
2013.
chance now.
They have a chance now. You're right, but they choose not to. They could even do it piecemeal, but they haven't proposed that yet.
So why do you think they haven't done it?
Because it's easy politics to fling
It's easy to
immigrants.
demonize both sides.
It is, absolutely. So, even when Democrats had control of the Senate and the House, or one of them.
No, we had control of both. We didn't pass immigration
They
reform
didn't do
then.
anything with that because they were
No, we
afraid
passed
of
cap
losing
and trade,
their
for God's
seats.
sakes, but we couldn't pass immigration reform.
Right. And it's really easy to have a second class sort of group that you could always use for every political cycle.
We used to do this with Black America. Oh, by the way, we still do.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Still kind of happens.
Yeah, it still kind of happens. That's the other thing that's so fascinating to me is because people say, and I get the political rhetoric around this, which is saying, okay, these are your jobs. But I have this question to ask. Does anybody in America actually think that if you deport 12 million people, how you do that? Set that aside. But if you deport 12 million people, who the hell do you think is going to pick your tomatoes for your Olive Garden salad?
Well, even beyond low-wage workers, agricultural workers, you
Sure.
have people in like the healthcare industries or
Yes.
the restaurant industries.
The restaurant industry, yeah.
All these people, immigrants do
Up
make,
and down
right.
the work chain.
And like even in Silicon Valley, right?
Sure, of
A
course.
majority of those companies have been started or have an immigrant co-founder.
Yeah.
So yes, this is going to deeply impact a lot of industries in America. It's obviously, if you look at just like state laws in Alabama and Georgia and Arizona that did pass anti-immigrant state legislation, look at their economies after what happened when they passed those laws, right?
Sure.
Like you said, the fields went fallow. Nobody was there to pick the tomatoes. And now this is potentially going to happen again because farm workers are already very, very scared to go back into
California.
the fields.
Get
Yeah.
outside of the coast, and it's either desert or farmland.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, half the stuff you eat from the grocery store comes from there. Well,
Probably
who do you
something that
think's
you ate this
doing
morning.
this? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Who do you think? Where do you think this stuff comes from? That's what the hard part. Esther Lee, this is a conversation that we need to keep having. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having
I
me.
appreciate it. And we'll be back in a moment. Stick with us and tweet us at BP Show and me at Jimmy's Politics. Thanks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. At work or at play, you're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Oh, hey, she's cute. Nice going, man. Things are going great for you. You've earned a night out. Good drinks, good friends. Yeah, we can go ahead and call this a good night. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Not smart. Yeah, I saw that coming. Say goodbye to her. Ouch, that'll hurt your bank account. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. I hope you like eating frozen dinners. Alone. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
it's harder whenever there's a bigger group.
Giving you everything you need to fight the Trump administration. This is The Bill Press Show. Live at youtube.com/The Bill Press Show.
It's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press, who's sleeping on a park bench somewhere in America, just like you probably are too. Glad you're with us. It's the 8 o'clock hour, and we have a big show ahead of us. So here we have with us in the studio Jacqueline Klimas, who is a defense reporter at Politico. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
I like what you're wearing. That's a cool outfit.
Thank you.
I would totally wear that if actually, I would still wear that anyway.
You can pull that off.
I could totally pull that off.
I
think I could, yeah. I like that. I like the little buttons here. That's real cool.
I don't.
Did you actually just play that on the soundboard?
No.
That's Jamie
Sean Spicer
Benson.
is in the studio, Jimmy.
Sean Spicer. Yeah, you kind of look a little bit like Sean Spicer. That was Mean Girls. # Mean Girls. I just did that. That was very mean. I should not have done that on a Friday.
Please calm down.
Really get rid of this.
It's pretty great. I'm going to be honest.
I can't get
if
a
nothing
show
else,
out.
it brought us to the point where you said he kind of looks like Sean Spicer.
That's a true statement. Keep it up, James. Keep it up. Keep it up, please. Thank you. By the way, we call him Polititwink, just so you know. Okay? Just so you know that.
Got it.
Peter, we have a lot to get to.
We do.
But before that,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple other stories making news. Okay, so the latest in the saga of David Dow, Dr. David Dow.
Dr. David Dow,
who's dragged off of the United flight. Yesterday, his family and his lawyers held a press conference. They said that after he was violently removed from his seat, here is what he suffered, by the way. A broken nose. He lost
a serious broken nose.
A serious broken nose.
I'm like, because there's no such thing as a non-typical head.
A serious broken nose. He lost 2 front teeth, and he suffered a concussion.
Well,
which is amazing. Like, once you watch the video, the video obviously looks very bad, but I would have never guessed that.
Does the tooth fairy come for adults?
I don't think so.
Does the tooth fairy exist?
Do
you believe in Santa Claus?
His attorney said, here's the law, real and simple. Quote, if you're going to eject a passenger, under no circumstances can it be done with unreasonable force or violence. So we've got a pretty serious lawsuit on our hands.
Here's the deal. They're going to settle this lawsuit before it becomes a lawsuit. I can tell you that. And if they don't, then they're stupid.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I don't fly. I'm a Delta girl. Always have been. Always will be. I only fly Delta. That's right. At Delta, did you hear that? Thank you very
Look
little.
at this guy. Just
I would pimp out.
Who flies Delta?
This girl. That's who flies Delta.
I haven't flown Delta since I was like 8 years old.
Because you're 9.
Further proof that Jimmy is my real dad is he's like repping hard for Delta.
I am repping hard for Delta.
Jimmy still has an AOL.com email address.
No, but my mother does. And when I email her, I'm like, Mother, when you dial out, she goes, yeah, it makes that noise.
No.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Oh, my God. My mother totally has an AOL account.
No kidding.
Yes, I'm like, you and like Steve Case, and that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Hey, fake news, by the way, is not just a problem here in America. It's a problem in France as well. And Facebook has announced a plan to target 30,000 fake French accounts before their big election. Now, their big election is coming up.
Yes.
And so to sort of prepare for that, they're trying to crack down on people spreading fake news in France. 30,000 accounts.
That's a lot.
Are being looked at. Yeah.
30,000. And one of them is Marine Le Pen.
Yeah, no, sorry. She's real.
Sadly. It's scary. That woman scares the living hell out of me, man.
She should.
Like, I would not want to see her in an alley. She would just beat me up.
And so now do you ever park in a handicapped parking space?
No, but sometimes at the Harris Teeter I park in the veterans space, but only if it's after like 11 o'clock at night.
I got this thing going on.
I can't believe I admitted that.
Well, in L.A., they're cracking down on people who park in handicapped spaces who don't have a handicap placard. This is a whole new program that they're putting together because there have been too many people complaining that there are able-bodied people parking in the handicapped spot.
Well, they should.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Now,
but they've been sort of ignoring it for a long time, and now they're saying, like, you can't do that anymore.
Although I will say this. I was at the Target the other day, and, like, the first 400 spaces were handicap spaces.
Oh, really?
Sometimes the ratio is off.
Come on. I mean, I had to park in, like, Leesburg. Ridiculous.
Don't park in handicap spots.
Don't park in there. That's right.
Don't live in Virginia.
We're going to go to break, and then when we come back, we'll have Jacqueline Klimas with us.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press. Here with me is Peter Ogburn.
Hello, Jimmy.
Hello, Peter. How are you?
I'm well.
Oh, I see you need to do some soul searching.
Yeah.
Soul searching. And also with us is Politico's Jacqueline Klimas. Is it Jacqueline, Jackie?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, okay. I don't like to give nicknames when they're not deserved or wanted.
I appreciate that.
Except when you call me Polititwink.
You're not
deserved.
That is deserved. Thank you very much. Dessert's just deserved. That's exactly right.
Jimmy doesn't have a nickname for me. I'm okay with that.
I don't.
I don't think so.
My colleague knew her at Scripps. She's with Newsy. She's like, "Can you please come up with a nickname for me?" I'm like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, and so I literally for 2 months I've been trying to come up with a name. I cannot come up with one.
Hello, Jerry.
Do that again.
Hello, Jerry.
Hello, Jerry.
Oh my God.
It's my favorite Trump clip of the year so far.
Okay, why just a bunch of white people on TV right now? Anyway,
have you watched cable news? It's basically just all stacks of white beef that they put up there. Yeah,
it's white people. What is? Remember? I see white.
I see white people.
I see white people. That's right.
Meanwhile, here in the studio.
Meanwhile, here in the studio is Jacqueline Klimas from Politico. Let's talk bombs. Who have we not? You know what I said to my friend Anna Palmer from Politico yesterday? I'm like, all right, I totally get like Syria. That was like our hearts were wrenching and those dead children, although Assad claims that there were none. And I understand that. And Afghanistan, yeah, okay, fine, sure. And I said, what's next, Norway? I mean, what the hell did Norway do? Right? So we're going to bomb North Korea today?
That has not, it's far from been decided. What the administration has said is that they're considering these preemptive attacks. Exactly. Fake news. They're considering these preemptive attacks if North Korea launches a nuclear test. It broke late last night.
Right.
But I mean, I don't think we'll see anything on that since this weekend. I saw on your TVs that Trump is being briefed now. And we'll see what's to come there.
I saw the president's schedule for today. There was nothing on it. Like the White House sends his schedule out every day, and it sends the vice president's schedule out every day, and then they'll update it when things happen, or he does something, or not does something. And there's nothing on his schedule today, like no public appearances at Mar-a-Lago, the Southern White House. I'm like, so he didn't get his daily briefing today. He got it yesterday, and he got it every other day of the week. So he got it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but he's not getting one today. So I have to assume he's just on the phone, flip phone, with his generals, who are the best generals in the world. I have to assume that.
Well, I actually have a question about that. So, like, yesterday, Jamie, if you have that clip of when he was asked about the mother of all bombs that was dropped, and his reaction and his response to did you give authorization to that was more vague than I would have thought that it would have been. Here's what he said.
Everybody knows exactly what happened, and what I do is I authorize my military. We have the greatest military in the world, and they've done a job as usual. So we have given them total authorization.
We've given them total authorization. What does that mean?
Before you answer that, it's our military, Mr. President, not yours.
Fair.
Okay, go ahead, Jacqueline. Yes.
I don't think anyone really knows exactly what this means right now.
Right. Just want to make sure I wasn't missing something.
No, I think...
I don't think he knows what it means.
Probably.
The press conference with Sean Spicer... People were asking him about the president's decision-making, and he said this is a question for DOD, which is kind of confusing about why the White House wouldn't be commenting about whether or not the president, like what the president's thinking was.
Right.
And then, I mean, to hear Trump's statement, if it is indeed that he's giving this authority to the military to decide, I mean, what kind of munitions to use, it's certainly a departure from President Obama's foreign policy, which received a lot of criticism for decisions that should have been at the Pentagon going through the National Security Council.
Right.
So, I mean, I haven't heard anyone say yet if this is a good or a bad thing to be giving the military total authorization, but it's certainly a change from the last administration.
But what frustrates me the most about it is that we just don't know. How about this? You're the president of the United States. You conducted military operations, including the raid in Yemen. It's not like you haven't been an active president militarily.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the deal. own your stuff, okay? Don't slough it off on the generals when it doesn't go so great. And then don't take credit when it does go great, at least in your mind it goes great. How about just own the fact that the buck stops here? Truman said that, and the fact is true. The buck stops at the Oval Office, whether it's, this one or the one in Florida. And if you're going to be president and you got elected because in due part because you said you were going to make America's military great again, blah, 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 all these wonderful things. I got it. I love a good campaign slogan. But here's the deal. Don't slough off Ask DOD, Sean Spicer. Sorry. Mm-hmm. No, you answer the question because you're not Donald Trump's press secretary. You're our press secretary. You're the United States press secretary. And if DOD dropped bombs and didn't tell Donald Trump, then that's something the Congress should ask. And we have a right to know. So I have a big problem with this idea of he said versus she. Stop. Somebody own what we're doing here, which is in the first 100 days, we've now bombed 3 countries.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a fair point. I don't think the White House has to authorize like every bomb drop. This is obviously a different case because it's the first time we've used this large of a bomb in combat.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's not like the White House is approving individual targets. I don't think, at that level on the ground. So, I mean, it's not really clear right now how much autonomy the military has in cases like this.
Well, we don't know. I'm a big fan of saying I don't know what I don't know because I'm not going to BS you. I'm just not. But I don't know what the president's doing here. His schedule that he sends out to the press, that the White House comms team sends out, doesn't know. He isn't telling us what he's doing. And even though he says everybody knows, well, no, we don't, Mr. President. How about just tell us what the hell you're doing? And by the way, if you're going to bomb North Korea, that's slightly problematic. And not because I like kimchi. No, sorry. That's slightly problematic because you'll wipe off the earth millions of people. North Korea will destroy South Korea. It's a simple fact. China did come up and they did say that they're going to if North Korea does these facile tactics and antics, military antics, that they would cut off oil to North Korea, and that's a big deal. I like to see them cut off food and oil. And actually make it painful. Now, that's a hard thing to say because that would affect real human beings, including real, innocent North Koreans. But the bottom line is you can't make a nut job like this Kim Jong-un bend at his knees without making him bend at his knees because the guy is a psychopath. And I don't know that we should be playing Russian roulette with a psychopath because psychopaths don't care. They just don't care.
I mean, someone might make the argument that we also have a psychopath in charge of our country now, but
I think you're giving him way too much credit.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, really, you just elevated him to a level he's never had before.
Yeah, maybe. But I think that,
oh, hell, Vegas is on fire, y'all.
What? Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Well, here's what I'll say, right? Like, if you look at what Donald Trump has done with the bombs in Syria and the bombs in Afghanistan and now the threat of bombs in North Korea, and you compare that to Barack Obama, which a lot of people thought that, his action towards Syria wasn't enough, and then he really botched the Syria response. But, talk about Trump's base, his people. He did not get elected so that he could go bombing and starting other wars in other countries.
I mean...
So, what's happening there? Because a lot of his people were really pissed that he went into Syria, even though it was for a relatively small operation.
Overall, though, poll numbers, people are very supportive of the Syria strikes. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I saw kind of a rundown of all the different polls that had been done, and the one with the least approval that was the one that didn't mention the chemical weapons. So it seems that people see chemical weapons were used, this was a good thing to do, has sort of been the broad base. And I feel I've heard a lot of people say that this makes him presidential to be taking these actions.
He won. Nothing makes you presidential other than winning. Right?
It seems to not be an unpopular move among a lot of Americans.
Well, Bill Clinton did this. Every time he got in trouble, we would go into Rwanda or we would get NATO to bomb Serbia or something like that. These things happen, let's be honest. It's not like Republicans are only people to use, military force to show strength. Harry Truman did this. I mean, up in a big league, okay? But here's the deal. The deal is stop BSing us about this stuff, Mr. President. Just own your deal. and by the way, this whole thing about Syria and the approval ratings, this wasn't the first time that Assad had gassed his own people during the Trump administration. This was the second time it had happened. And no one gave a damn about those kids. Oh, and by the way, when they, all the other times, I mean, and Donald Trump is a private citizen, not even running for president, trolling Barack Obama, and Barack Obama's like drawing that stupid red line, which he never actually, adhered to. And guess what? He's like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Were those dead children in Syria less worthy than the current dead children in Syria? Seriously? I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure gassing a child or killing a child is serious no matter when it happens. So the hypocrisy here is what bothers me. And then this back door, closed door, smoky room, I'm doing this and I'm not going to tell you that I'm doing it. Oh, you just have to trust me because I'm the greatest and I'm going to make America great again. And I got the best journals in the world as long as it's going okay. It's just it's BS. And it frustrates me, and it frustrates a lot of Americans. And I think that is not a progressive thing or a conservative thing. That is an American thing. Nobody likes a hypocrite, and nobody likes to be BS'd, especially by their president. I guess we're used to it, sadly. That's the sad part about it. I don't know. So do you think we're bombing North Korea?
We're gonna have to wait and see what happens. I'm certainly not gonna make any predictions. There.
You're not gonna predict, us bombing a.
No. It's almost like you're a responsible journalist.
That's crazy, Jacqueline.
Weird. What are you doing on this show?
That's it. I'm calling the people over at Politico. That's it. No more of this responsible journalism stuff. Now, to be fair, you were a reporter, not an opinion journalist like moi.
Right.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, to get away from the North Korea thing, because I think you're right. We'll just have to see, but. We have taken action against ISIS in Afghanistan with this mother of all bombs, which I hesitate to call it mother of all bombs because there is an awful lot of fanfare around this whole thing, which I think is a little grotesque. But, what's the next step? This I think, is the biggest problem with the Trump administration and war, right, is bombs dropped in Syria, now what? Bombs dropped in Afghanistan, now what? Right, so there's no clear plan of what happens.
So I'm saying Norway's next. I mean, Norway's it's going to happen.
Right, but do we have a follow-up plan? Do we? Because I know his whole thing during the campaign was we're going to keep it secret. But
so I mean,
where does this end?
In Syria, the administration has said this is a one-off thing. This is not the start of a campaign against Assad. If they use chemical weapons again, it'll be interesting to see what happens, whether we, send another message and try to deter that again.
But wait, that's not what Ambassador Nikki Haley said, the ambassador to the UN. She left it open that we could do more.
I mean,
she made that abundantly clear.
The military is always planning for all contingencies. I think there's always the option to do more. But the Pentagon statement was that, this is not the start of a war against Assad. We are not going out to take Assad out of power.
Well, somebody at the Pentagon should call the UN. I can give you Nikki's number. I have it. Okay? Seriously.
And I think in Afghanistan, my first question was, is this going to open up these bombs to be used more often? Are we going to be dropping these mother of all bombs all the time now? And what analysts told me is that the answer is no, just because they're very good at targeting these underground tunnel networks, but they're not really great for other stuff. We only have about a dozen of them, so we can't be dropping them with any sort of regularity. Plus, they're so big, they can only be carried by U.S. cargo planes. They can't be dropped from any of our air platforms, which just makes them less convenient to drop. So people suggested to me that if we find more underground tunnel networks, that these would be a good candidate to strike. We could use them again, but we're not going to be, dropping these bombs that create these huge mushroom clouds every day.
Right. For the record, by the way, with all these budget cuts that Trump has been talking about in this Trump budget proposal that we saw. The skinny budget. Each mother of all bombs, or the Moab, costs around $16 million. They've made 20, so they've spent $314 million on the production of these bombs.
So we have 19.
So we have 19 more.
We have 19 left.
I don't think we're going to leave a whole lot of them on the table, frankly. I sort of get that impression that,
I don't know.
I don't know either, but...
And nor does he.
No.
Ugh. This is our foreign policy. It frustrates me to no end. It really does. This is our foreign policy. This is now America's foreign policy.
What is it, though? What is the foreign policy?
Whatever he decides, whenever he wakes up at 6 o'clock in the morning and starts tweeting. This is the frustration. And this is, I think, listen, I know plenty of Republicans, plenty of conservatives, and this is their biggest problem, is the uncertainty of what he's going to do. Now, Barack Obama, for all his pros and all his cons, you knew what Barack Obama was going to do, right? He would say to you, this is what I'm going to do, this is why I'm going to do it, and I don't really care if you like it or not, America and Congress. Fine. Love it, hate it, that's for the historians to tell us. But with this guy, we just don't know. That's what scares the hell out of me. I mean, we have 19 of these Moabs left. I had forgotten that there was a thing called a Moab. I mean, I remember studying these, but I didn't know what we even used them for. I mean, it's an 11-ton bomb, right? 11-ton bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get the damn thing up in the sky? and by the way, how do you know that it hit what it's supposed to hit? It seems to me you just kind of drop it and it goes boom.
It doesn't have the same advanced guidance system as some of the more
cruise
expensive
missile or,
bombs.
okay, right.
But it does have some sort of guidance system.
Okay, so it's got GPS.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
We're not just
it
we're not
has
just
Waze.
dropping bombs. Yeah.
Yes, the Moab has Waze. Thank God. By the way, someone turned my Waze. They changed my Waze into Colonel Sanders. So every time I use it, it's like, turn right right now.
No, really?
I am so glad. My friend Julia Gustafson, she turned my Waze
That's
into...
unsettling.
It was
I don't think I would
beyond
want
terrifying.
Made me mad.
Uh-huh.
I want a Lindsey Graham Waze.
Well, now, really, I don't know about that. The president is just the president.
Just keep going straight.
Just keep going. Stop.
What?
Stop.
No, done Waze. It's directions.
Cease
just straight down the...
Cease and desist. You know what we say in the gay community? Keep going gaily forward. I'm like, no, go straight. Stop it. Don't say that to me. I'm trying to drive. Please, it's enough. Ugh. The gays kill me sometimes.
Can I ask you a question about like the impact, the fallout, not of the actual bombs,
Sure.
but like political or just like cultural, right? Because the argument has always been with the damage that we've done in the Middle East over the past, several years.
60 years?
Has created plenty of terrorists.
Sure.
So the image of us dropping a giant bomb on Afghanistan probably is not great optics for that movement.
Sure. I mean, that's certainly a fair point. From what I've heard, it was dropped in a pretty rural area, and kind of all that was out there was ISIS and this tunnel network. So I don't know necessarily how many Afghans would have seen it and been impacted by it, but
seen it?
Sure. No.
Felt it.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
What's that big thing coming at me?
Yeah.
What's that bus? Right.
But at least initially, there's no indication there were any civilian casualties, which, is a good thing.
And by the way,
obviously.
is sort of a change for this administration. We've seen a lot of civilian casualties already.
Yeah, and just yesterday, not civilians, but there was a coalition launch strike in Syria that accidentally killed 18 of our Syrian allies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, mistakes like this are very, very sad, but they do happen.
Sure. Like, to me, though, at some point, right, like you've got to say, when Donald Trump's on the campaign trail, he said, I'll kill families of terrorists. Mm-hmm. We're going to bomb the S out of ISIS. I don't care about the collateral damage necessarily, right? Like if I kill a couple of ISIS fighters but some civilians go down, he's fine with that. That's just what he said. And so now here we are. Like we killed 200 civilians last week. And then the Syrian fighters, we killed them too. And no one's freaking out yet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to say something controversial again.
Shock.
What?
In war,
Jimmy.
In war, innocent people get killed, and it sucks. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying acting like it doesn't happen is not the right way to approach it. The right way to approach it is to say that there is collateral damage in any kind of military activity.
I understand that.
Fact of life.
I understand
and
that.
by the way, that happens. I mean, that's a two-way street. And so, we need to, that means we should seriously think about the target. I mean, there are reasons why presidents don't bomb sometimes. They don't attack because of what could happen to innocent people. It is not people in North Korea that live there their fault for living in North Korea. It is Kim Jong-un's fault. It is not, an innocent child in Afghanistan. It's not her fault for living in Afghanistan. What's she supposed to do? Run away from home? Ain't happening. But at the same time, we should be smart about what we do and tactical about what we do.
There was a lot of criticism under President Obama from the military and from Congress that the rules of engagement were too strict.
Sure.
Because we couldn't kill any civilians, which is obviously the goal. But we saw, I shouldn't say we, the Pentagon saw ISIS start, that they wouldn't go anywhere without their wives because they knew we weren't going to kill their wives, so then we couldn't strike them. So
the Mike Pence strategy. Sorry.
Oh my God, you so did that.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Oh my God, you so did that.
Sorry. They don't go anywhere without mother.
Mother.
I'm sorry.
By the way, have you ever seen the movie
Here we go.
The Birdcage?
I'm sorry, that's
have you
my
ever seen the
fault.
movie The Birdcage? With Nathan Lane and Robin Williams? And
it's the best.
I don't.
Shut it, Jamie. I'm going to slap you like a small child. And what's his name? He plays the conservative Republican senator. And Callista Flockhart is his daughter. And Diane Weiss is the wife, and he calls her mother. I'm like,
mother.
Who the hell calls your wife mother? Well, apparently that's what you do in America in the 1980s. I don't know. Mother. I mean, I'm sorry. I call my mother, not my spouse, mother. That's just weird to me. I mean, I don't know. That was a tangent that I did not need to go off on, but I just want you to know. Watch The Birdcage. It's fabulous.
I'll add it to the list.
Oh, have you never seen it?
No.
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
You'd like it.
Robin Williams and Nathan Lane play a gay couple in Miami, in South Beach, and they own a dance club, a
nightclub.
nightclub.
So much today.
It is
Jacqueline,
brilliant.
I am forever being criticized for not seeing movies that I should have seen. So
you should watch this movie.
This is a good one.
Jamie, have you ever seen The Birdcage?
Sure.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have.
All right, good.
Long time ago.
You weren't even born.
I was born. It was in the 90s.
It was 96.
So you were like 7.
Born.
I'm barely an 80s baby. So I have seen it.
God.
An 80s baby. I should reach through that panel right now and punch the living crap out of you. Oh my God.
Please calm down.
I got to talk to Bill about these stupid sound effects. It's just too much for me. All right. What else? Tell me what you're working on these days. Besides us bombing everybody in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Thursdays seem to be the days when we're bombing people, so that's really busy. What
you doing next Thursday, Jacqueline? You want to talk about bombs? Can we have a date next Thursday to talk about bombing?
I had a lovely Easter weekend planned that will likely be impacted by any potential issues with North Korea, so we are certainly, the whole Politico newsroom is certainly going to be on the lookout for any movement there.
North Korea, man. You know, Leon Panetta said something very interesting on TV yesterday. He's a former Secretary of Defense, former CIA chief, and former congressman from California. Was a Democratic congressman and worked for George W. Bush. So his street cred is serious. And he said, we used détente, we used containment with the Soviet Union, and it worked out. Right? It worked out. We should continue to do that with North Korea. I kind of agree with Leon Panetta on this. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Peter? Do you think if we bombed...
I'm an idiot. Why are you asking me? No, look, I think that's true. I mean, why in the world would we want to start... Like, North Korea, I get the...
He's cray-cray.
Yeah, I know he is. But he's also sort of fairly well isolated. And I'm not trying to say that, like...
Because of containment.
That's what I'm getting at.
Right.
Like, I don't really see him as a major threat right now. Maybe I should, but, like, he can run his tests and he can keep doing these big explosions to, like, make his people excited and get them all revved up, and it seems to be working out well. But, like...
If we do bomb him...
Oh, my God.
Do we have to, like, take out his nuclear... capabilities.
It's like that old joke about, like, if you go swimming and you see a shark or a shark is close, you're supposed to punch him in the nose because it's supposed to scare him off. Like, they won't attack you if you punch him in the nose. If they get close enough, you want to hit him in the nose. And it's like, well, if there's a shark swimming by and you just punch him in the nose, it's like, well, what the heck? Well, I thought you were going to attack me. Well, I wasn't going to attack you, but now you punched me in the nose, so now I have to attack you.
Watch Jaws. It doesn't work out that way.
Well, that's a different story. But.
No, it's not. It's a shark.
But, like, why would you provoke, I guess, if they're, you know what I mean? Why escalate it? Why be the one to escalate it?
Because you're sitting at a 36% approval rating. Your Congress is sitting at a 20% approval rating. You can't pass an immigration bill. You can't pass it. You can't get an immigration executive order done. You can't do most anything. That's the problem here. You can't get tax reform done. You can't get repeal and replace Obamacare done. So you have to bomb stuff.
The timing of this with North Korea, I think, is interesting because a lot of people yesterday were speculating if dropping this large bomb was to send a message to North Korea. And someone I spoke to said that kind of if that was the point, it's not going to work because the North Korean leader's crazy. Like, everyone knows we have these things. It's not like they're secret. So It's like he already knew we had this bomb. He now knows we dropped it, but that's not going to deter him if that was the point of it, but that it probably wasn't. But it is interesting the timing of, we dropped this big bomb and now we're sending Navy carriers over to North Korea.
But Navy carriers they can't deliver a Moab.
Right. No, it has to be
These are other kinds of missiles.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know. Jacqueline, Klimas, thank you very much for being with us
Thanks
today.
for coming in.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
First visit to the show.
It is.
Is it your first time? Oh, well, we were totally nice. We should have been more brutal. Why didn't someone tell me this? Next
for
time,
exactly that reason.
You're in for it, girl. Have a great weekend and a happy
Thank
Easter, and I hope
you
you're
too.
not in the newsroom.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
And I hope that smile, I hope behind that smile that you're doing some serious soul searching listening to these people here tonight.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
So they say it's a man's world? Well, I don't see anybody's name on it. While they were out doing their thing, we slowly changed all that. We changed all that. Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Hey, look, it's those guys.
What's up? What's happening today?
Let's hit those pearly whites, man.
Yeah! The boys, check it out. Stand up, do my terrorists, gon' compare us. Go!
Ooh, cute.
Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
Hey girl, what's up? What's your name? What's good? What's up?
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Sir, go and step out of the vehicle for me.
Yes, sir. See ya, buddy. Today, Sean's got a hearing. We'll see how it goes. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing. And it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
aprender más, visite nuestro sitio en el web.
Live video, Bill's commentary, the best clips from the show, all in one place. YouTube.com/The Bill Press Show.
And it's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. With us in the studio is Pema Levy. Hello, Pema. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm delightful. She is a politics reporter for Mother Jones, which my buddy David Korn, y'all break so much information over there. It is redunculous, the amount of information y'all break.
We're working hard.
Duh. I mean, it is killing me. I'm like, I want to leave podcasting and go work for Mother Jones. I don't. Ellen Weiss, I'm just joking. I don't. But that's my bureau chief. But I'm serious. You guys are really doing some great work over at Mother Jones.
Thank you.
Hire Jimmy is what it sounds
No,
like.
no. I really love what I do. I totally love what I wouldn't want. No, I don't
Why
want
are
to
you
work that hard.
winking at her when you say that? That's
No, I'm
weird.
not. I don't wink at. First of all, I don't wink at women. Especially, I just stop it. You're putting baby in a corner. Baby does not like being in a corner.
You Paula wink.
Huh?
You Paula wink.
No, you're a polititwink. We call him polititwink. Just so you know. That's Jamie Benson. He runs the soundboard, sadly.
Pema calls me Jamie, which is my name.
It's true.
You can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. You know what I'm talking about?
It's like a confederacy of dunces up in this place this morning. Oh, dear God. Pema,
Yeah.
what are you writing about?
So I recently published, I guess, a profile of Jeff Sessions, if you will, but specifically his time as a prosecutor in Alabama.
Oh, yes, a fun time for all of Black America. Yes, indeed.
So he served for a long time as a prosecutor. He became a U.S. attorney when Reagan was in office, and then just went all the way through until Bill Clinton was elected.
Right.
And put a Democrat in, and so he was there for 12 years, and then shortly after that he was Attorney General for 2 years. And it's really interesting. There's a lot of, I think that people don't realize this because it doesn't compute unless you think about it. But he was down in Mobile, Alabama, which is a really interesting place for his genesis or his sort of like political coming into being.
Mm-hmm.
It was really a place that was sort of slow to get on the desegregation bandwagon. It was very sort of reactionary. It had a lot of like rural whites who had come there during World War II. It was like the last major city to integrate its city government in Alabama, only at the behest of the Supreme Court.
Funny, that little Supreme Court thing. Yes.
Yeah. And it was also this like major place where the drug trade was going on, because it has 2 major interstates and a port and an airfield. And so it was just like drugs were coming through all the time. And Jeff Sessions he just implemented the war on drugs, and it was his job, and he did a really good job at it, and was just, went really, really hard on, the minnows to the big fish. And so it's a really interesting time, and it's obviously very informative to who he is now.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's trying to ramp up, prosecutions, talking about spikes in crime, talking about going after, drug crimes again. And, you just look back at who he was 20, 30 years ago, and it's the exact same person. And when, I don't want to give anything away, but like the last sort of quote in the piece is a quote from him 20 years ago saying, if I was U.S. attorney, I would just up prosecutions by 50%.
Oh my God!
And so it's sort of like, well, yeah, that's
well, but like it definitely shows that that's how he's operating. But it's such a departure from when we talk about prison reform and the mandatory sentencing, and you look at the war on drugs, which has gotten so much more manageable because of either legalization or not locking people up for a lifetime for having a small amount of weed or things like that. But like, we've really gone back in the other direction in a really big way.
Yeah, I mean,
if you listen to what he says and what he believes in and what he would like to do.
But that's not true.
What?
Like drug use in the country. I mean, crime. Like he's running around saying crime is through the roof.
Oh,
Crime's
yeah.
down.
No. He's doing it off of false pretenses. Yeah, but like, but like, we've done a much better job, I think, of managing crime in this country.
Yeah. We have.
Yeah, I mean, the statistics show that it is significantly decreased, and he sort of dances around that in his speeches. He'll sort of say like, crime went down, but it went up a little bit last year, and I'm pretty sure that's a new trend and not a blip. And that's sort of like what he says in each of his speeches to sort of, talk about this. But yeah, I mean, it's very much, I don't know the future, but people talk about Trump as
That's it.
Get
her out. We're done. I thought you were bringing in a what do you call those people?
Clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry.
Jamie, that's it. Get her out.
I was going to say, not knowing the future, we think of Donald Trump as sort of a reactionary, sort of last gasp of like a reactionary past. And I feel like when it comes to crime, Jeff Sessions also represents that sort of like last attempt to move everything backwards.
I think Jeff Sessions embodies what the Trump voters want way more than like Donald Trump does. In the sense of like being really, really hard on crime, shutting it down brown people from coming into this country, right? Yeah. Whether that be from Mexico or the Muslim ban stuff, so like.
I mean, I'm not the first person to make this point. This week I'll say that other smart people have been making this point, but there's been all of this talk obviously about Steve Bannon and if he's going to leave or his like role is reduced, and everyone's like, oh, the Bannon people are out, and it's like, you guys, Jeff Sessions is Attorney General,
right?
Like,
right.
Don't like think that all of a sudden moderates are running the show. Like, the Senate confirmed a Bannonite as Attorney General.
That's exactly right.
So,
I'm intrigued by this. I don't even know if I would call it right wing. I don't think right wing actually does it justice. It's this neo-nationalism that I think is what's so strange. I get the idea of, conceptually get the idea of America first. I understand. I love America. We're Americans. Totally get it. But ignoring the fact that we're one country of hundreds and hundreds of others in the world, and their relationship with us and our relationship with them, either unilaterally or multilaterally, that's not how the world works anymore. It's just not. And the whole theory that we're going to close off all of our borders and just focus on us, then that leaves a vacuum. And I get getting drug runners off the street. I get getting violent criminals off the street. And I think they should pump tons of money into doing those things, except for marijuana. Because marijuana is not a drug; it grows in the ground, so it can't be a drug.
Pointed at me when he said that.
That's right. That's right. But what I'm getting at is that I don't want rapists and gang members. Get them out. By the way, that's Americans or not Americans.
Sure,
get them out. Fine with me. But don't sit around and scare the living hell out of people when crime is down. Crime's down. Don't lie to me and say crime is up. Crime is not up. Crime is down. I remember the New York City of the 1980s and the late 1970s. That was a criminally ridden New York City. That's not what New York City is now. And Rudy Giuliani hasn't been mayor in a really long time. Just FYI. Okay, so, and listen, there are going to be criminals everywhere you go. That's just a fact of life. So you have to have cops on the beat to put them in jail. Fine. But, it seems to me that we have this strange, the fear-mongering and these misguided principles about who we're actually going after. That, to me, is the biggest scare of all. That's what worries me the most. And putting someone like Jeff Sessions, who, by the way, when I was a staffer, I worked with him and his staff in the United States Senate. He was easy to work with. I'll be completely honest with you. His staff, they were with us on certain things. They were against us on certain things. But you always knew where Jeff Sessions stood. And that was okay. That was totally fine. But it's not like he wanted to burn the place down. He wanted to get stuff done in the United States Senate. But
like bad stuff done.
Well, no. I mean, we worked with him on certain issues, on some trade issues, and he was helpful to us. But to be honest with you, I got to tell you, this is a very. I mean, your piece is about how he is the same guy that he was 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
That may be true, but being confined to the Senate where there are 100 of those dudes and dudettes, and you have to get along, or at least you used to have to get along, was a very, I think, helpful thing to him. Now, as the Attorney General, he has carte blanche to do basically whatever he wants. And that's what scares me the most.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, in talking to a lot of people who knew him back in Alabama, pretty much everyone said he's a really nice guy. Like,
Beyond
he's very
nice.
Amiable.
Yes.
And he gets a lot of, I think, credit or maybe even like leniency from people back home because they're like, well, he's so nice. And I run into him in the Costco and, he's like, he's not like, the politicians that are spending money everywhere or
Well,
sleeping
to be fair,
around
everybody in the
and-
South's nice. Doesn't mean that we mean it, but everybody
I mean,
in the
when you
South
got
is nice.
the governor of Alabama resigning this week because of a sex scandal,
God.
like everyone's like, "Oh, Jeff Sessions, not so bad."
That was a campaign finance scandal, Pema, don't you know?
Well,
It
by the
was,
way,
and an ethical scandal.
You bring up a point that I think cuts like way beyond just Jeff Sessions, but I think is a real sort of issue moving forward with the electorate, right? Because like Jimmy, you can relate to this, I'm sure, right? I have an uncle in Alabama, fairly progressive guy, voted for Barack Obama, right? Sweet guy, progressive on most issues, also hates black people, just like a horribly racist person. Really and truly.
I'm not surprised about
No,
that.
seriously, but that's the thing. That's like the issue now, right? It's like, what do we do with those people? But I think Jeff Sessions, probably one of those guys. Likable, nice guy, pretty racist. I know, I'm saying, I'm not asking anybody to agree with me. I'm just saying.
I see it. I mean, I'm from the South. Pema, where'd you grow up?
Los Angeles.
That's not the South.
I have relatives in the South.
Where?
I spent some time there. Louisiana.
I've heard of that as a state.
Mhm.
It's vastly underwater, but it's disappearing as we speak, absolutely. But it is indeed
Northern
a state.
Louisiana. Basically Arkansas.
I got it. I understand,
Yeah.
yes. Also
Still
a state.
above water.
I was gonna say, Southern Louisiana isn't really the South. It's just like Southern Louisiana.
Yeah, they're northern. They're northern.
Yeah, gotcha. But the bottom line is that you can be. I'm intrigued. So you have, let's take for example these races, these special elections that are happening. Okay, so you had the one in Kansas. The Republican barely won in a district that Donald Trump won by 20-something points. He barely wins. You have one coming up in Georgia to replace Tom Price, right? Now, Trump won this district, not by much, but Tom Price won it by 20-something, 26 points.
Right.
And the guy that's running, John Ossoff, is it Ossoff?
Let's go with Ossoff.
Sure. Everyone's saying he's going to win this district. Okay, and it's a suburb of Atlanta. Here's how this is going to work. He's probably not going to win that seat.
I agree.
Because there are just too many racists still left. And by the way, racists do live in the suburbs. Racists live in urban areas. Hey, that's a bad little dirty secret, but it's true. And so you've got Mick Mulvaney. He's now the director of OMB. He's, I think, the 5th District of South Carolina. It was a seat that the Democrat John Spratt held for 3,948 years. And Mick Mulvaney then beat him. Now he's at OMB. And you've got, two African Americans and a white guy, a white Wall Street banker named Archie Parnell, who's running for that seat, and about 3 billion Republicans, one of which put out an ad, a woman who put out an ad a couple of days ago, a video ad, that decried the legislature in South Carolina for taking the Confederate flag off of state property, saying that was the bad thing to do. Seriously? Now, I don't know if she wins or not, but how much more racist can you possibly get? And that's a campaign ad that she ran. Come on, America. This idea that you can be progressive in the South, that's awesome. And by the way, the South has always had a strain that shrinks and widens of progressivism. Always has. But that doesn't mean that racists aren't out there voting, because they are voting.
Yeah.
And that's why people sadly, that it's going to be hard for Democrats to win. All you have to do is ask them this. Are you going to vote for Nancy Pelosi as leader? That's all you got to ask them. You don't have to ask them about health care or trade or bombing North Korea or the price of gas.
They could just say no.
They could. Sometimes they do. Sometimes it saves them. I don't know. But it just bothers me.
Republicans now are still running against Nancy Pelosi,
who hasn't been leader in 3,000 years.
Leader in forever. And it also...
Speaker. Yeah,
right. But it also highlights, I think, just how easy it is to beat the crap out of a woman these days, right? I think Hillary Clinton, we saw that.
Yeah.
But like the fact that they've still demonized Nancy Pelosi, like who cares about Nancy Pelosi anymore? She's not in.
Well, I wrote about this actually, maybe like a few weeks ago now. But anyways, I wrote about the fact that I think that the attacks on Pelosi are getting a little bit old. She's like clearly not speaker, so it's hard to sort of like get people too worried about her.
Right.
And so the
Democrats hardly hold her up as the leader of the party.
Right. So the new person that they are now sort of like training their focus on to be like, are you with so-and-so is Elizabeth Warren. And to me that I heard that they were doing that and I was like, is it because she's a woman? Because they realize, and it's funny, I asked a bunch of people and a lot of people were like, oh, I don't want to talk about that on the record. One person was like, yeah, it's probably partly because of that.
Yeah.
Like, because the lesson of 2016 was you can be really nasty and personal in your attacks on a woman, and you will be totally fine.
And win a majority of women.
Yeah, and still win women. Yeah, that's a good point.
He won a majority of women.
Yeah, and so I think that, we'll see how much they go after Elizabeth Warren, but I think part of it is like, oh, we can call her, Pocahontas or Professor, and, and so I don't know. I think that is something that they sort of discovered a little bit in the last election, and we'll see where it goes.
You can get away with a lot more, like when you're beating up on a woman politically.
Oh, well, it's a complete and total double standard.
Oh, completely.
Yeah. No doubt.
Completely.
No doubt.
Hey, can I switch gear? I want to ask you about another piece that you wrote, which is it's from earlier in the week, but Sean Spicer on the Hitler stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't want to keep beating up on him necessarily about that, but like I have plenty of things to beat up on Sean Spicer about. But
stupid does.
Like some people are saying that this just is further proof that the White House is full of anti-Semites or Holocaust deniers, which might be true. I just think Sean Spicer is a stuttering moron. I don't think he's a Holocaust denier. I think he's just like
he screwed it up.
Dumber than a box of boxes.
Bashar al-Assad in
there
charge.
There he is. Yeah. America's sweetheart. Is he in any danger of losing his job?
Sure.
I mean,
everybody is in the Trump
administration. I've worked for a billionaire. Here's how it works. If you're out of favor, you're out of favor.
But
that's how that works.
I don't think this hurt him with Trump.
No, I just think it's sort of like every day he's in danger and has been from day one.
Because he works for Donald Trump.
Yeah,
right.
And because yes, I mean that's most of it. I think that the idea is that Trump was always sort of like, I don't know about this guy, and so he's always sort of maybe been a little bit more ready to get rid of him. That's sort of what the impression that we get on the outside is. But no, I don't think that this necessarily. This was so bizarre because it didn't have to be a thing.
No.
Like, he could have, a reporter asked him to clarify, and he could have just been like, you know what, that came out wrong. It's not what I meant. I was talking about use.
That's right.
Specifically in, like, cities, like, in battlefields, like, you know what, let's
like
just
World
move
War
on.
I.
Let's, like, forget about that. Let's
right.
We didn't go back to mustard gas. Like, let's move on.
Right.
But he didn't. He just doubled down, and then he sent out all of these, like...
apologies.
Well, they were, like, clarifications, but they weren't apologies until it basically got to, like, that night or the next day when he, like, went out in public.
With Peter Alexander.
And reportedly, I don't know, I saw this on Twitter, but called Sheldon Adelson and said, sorry.
Right. So he calls the number one Jewish donor, Republican Jewish donor, and says, I'm really sorry.
Right, like,
seriously?
Why not just stop it right there? Which is why it was confusing to me, but because it really did... I mean, it was, I think, rightly... when someone says something like that, you should pay attention to it and write about it and bring it to people's attention.
Of course.
But it is another thing where it's like, well, it is another day we're not talking about the fact that we're not really sure what Trump is doing in Syria, or another day when, you know, sort of like all these other things. And it was sort of like almost like Spicer like took one for the team and was like, I'm going to say something crazy about World War II and then like,
yeah, but like,
I'll just take one for the team here.
I really do think that these press briefings, which have now become must-see television, right? Which is never.
See, I don't think they are. I think the network should not put them on.
I'm not saying that it should be, but they are, right? Like you look like they're on all the cable channels, right? I can't watch them anymore. I really can't. I won't watch them. I won't watch Trump's press conferences. I can't. It's numbing. But my point is, Spicer's really he has like an audience of one, right? If he pisses off the press and everybody's watching, he keeps his job. That's all Trump cares about. That's literally how craven he is. I mean,
Right.
It's not a matter of are we getting the message out there? Is he flying under the radar? Like it's a circus, which is exactly what Trump wants. So yeah, he'll keep his job. And by the way, do I think Trump is offended that Sean Spicer didn't know about Hitler using chemical weapons? No.
I don't know that.
That's not going to lose him. I do. That's not going to lose him his job.
No, well, listen, you don't lose your job unless you bring. If Trump thinks that Sean Spicer, or for that matter anybody else in his administration, is hurting him in the polls, then you're out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fact of life.
Sean Spicer's still pretty likable, by the way.
I've met him. He's a totally nice guy to talk to and sit down. I have. I mean, he's. I mean, listen. Would I go out drinking with him every Thursday night? No, I would not.
Yeah.
But then let's be honest. I wouldn't have done that with half of Obama's people either.
I understand.
I
understand.
I don't.
Jamie, I'm going to slap you like a small child. Oh my gosh. Oh, Jesus. Anyway.
I'm going to stay out of that.
Yeah. Pema, good idea. Can we talk about something that Donald Trump Jr. has done? Speaking of apples falling from the tree, because we haven't said that. So apparently there is a group of LGBT kids, students and activists at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh who do not want Chick-fil-A on the campus. And they protested. And then Donald Trump Jr., because he's running $1 billion business, decided he needed to go after them and say to them, it's a yummy sandwich, please stop. Okay, so two thoughts. First, to the kids at Duquesne University, shut it about Chick-fil-A. I'm a gay man, and I love Chick-fil-A, and I eat Chick-fil-A now because they stopped giving money to anti-gay groups, okay? So it's enough. I'm done. And Donald Trump Jr., go run your companies, stop killing wild animals, and for God's sakes, get rid of your Twitter account because you're a moron. This is ridiculous. And this is like front page news these days. Come on. I mean, it's a chicken sandwich, and you're a chicken for tweeting at kids who, I mean, come on.
It sounds like you kind of agree with him, though.
No, I don't agree with him. I think it's dumb. I'm not going to. Listen, here's the deal. If Chick-fil-A, which is a business, wants to be a profitable business, then it's remarkably simple. People will buy your food or they won't buy your food. That's called free commerce. And if you do really bad things to people, then I'm not going to buy your food. They stop doing bad things to the gay community, therefore I buy their food. If they pick up their bad things again, I will stop buying their food. This is terrifyingly simple. It's economics, it's free market enterprise. That's what it's called. But Donald Trump Jr. is supposed to be running a multi-bagazillion dollar business because his daddy's not running it, which is BS. He's totally running it. And by the way, taking profits from those businesses, a change he made to his trusts, his blind trusts, which are not blind trusts. But here's the deal. Get off it. I mean, it's enough. We're supplying you with Secret Service to protect you so no one will come and punch you in your face and make sure that you don't get killed. And I think that should happen. I think he does deserve Secret Service protection. But stop going after gay kids, and gay kids stop going after Chick-fil-A. It's just so stupid to me.
It does feel very like 2010 or something.
It's so like 1998.
So much of this feels like 2010.
Yeah.
Right?
If not like 1990, yeah.
No, really. Like, I feel like we're fighting the same crap.
Over and over again.
From 10 years ago.
Or 20 years ago, or 30 years. It's like I'm bored. That bores me.
I'm bored, but it's also kind of terrifying.
I guess. I don't know.
That's it, man.
That's it?
The show.
Is that the end of the show?
Yeah, we're done.
Pema Levy, thank you for coming in.
Hey, go get the podcast. Go check out the podcast.
Go check out the podcast on iTunes. And are you on Stitcher?
Yeah, just go to Bill Press Show.
Yeah, the Bill Press Show. And subscribe and rate and go to my podcast, PODC. Pema Levy, thank you. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
This is the Bill Press Show.